Hello everyone, and welcome to GT Boxing, July 2016, Las Vegas. The MGM Grand, a city that lives and breathes entertainment, was once again preparing to host a night of high drama. Two undefeated champions were about to collide. Two styles, two schools, two journeys that had finally crossed at a point where there could be no compromise. On one side stood Terence "Bud" Crawford, the quiet man from Omaha, Nebraska, a technician, a versatile fighter of the highest order. On the other, Victor the Iceman Postol, a cold-blooded Ukrainian stylist trained by Freddie Roach and the man who had stopped Lucas Mathesy, the knockout machine. This was not a fight for money or fame. It was a fight for truth. Who was truly the best in the division? Who would impose his style? And who would leave the ring tasting defeat for the first time in his career? The stakes were enormous. Experts debated. Bookmakers hesitated. And that is exactly what creates legends. This was Crawford's biggest physical test, the tallest, rangiest opponent of his career. So let's break it down. What led up to this fight, what both camps had to say, and what the atmosphere was like around this clash. We'll cover everything in detail. But before we dive in, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new exclusive videos. Now let's begin. Training camps and tactical blueprints. Terence Crawford came into elite boxing through the amateur system, hardened in Nebraska gyms and shaped under the philosophy of trainer Brian "Bomac" McIntyre. Control the rhythm, adapt to everything. In preparation for Postol, the emphasis was on footwork, working off angles and defensive slips, making the taller man miss, then pay. McIntyre and his team studied hours of Postol's footage, looking for patterns, how he launched his jab, when he left himself open for the counter, and which tell punches preceded his combinations. Crawford was calm in pressers, almost understated. I know how to neutralize his jab. Short, simple, but delivered with the quiet confidence of a man who had bled through countless sparring rounds. Victor Postol came from a very different school, the Eastern European discipline of long jabs and strict control of range. Fresh off his career-defining win over Lucas Mathesy, where he claimed the WBC title, Postol entered the Crawford fight with a clear mantra: jab, 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 and set up the right hand. Freddie Roach believed distance was Postol's kingdom, and that Crawford would be forced to gamble inside. But the devil is always in the details. In sparring, Postol had shown he could dictate with length, but Crawford brought in special partners to replicate that style, practicing how to break range, cut angles, and slide into close distance. Those small drills would soon prove decisive. Around both fighters buzzed the managers, promoters, and analysts, discussing odds and PPV potential. The bookmakers leaned slightly toward Crawford, but the lines were tight. The public was split, expecting a tactical chess match. As analysts noted, the real question was simple: could Crawford slip past Postol's jab? And if he did, could Postol survive? Tale of the tape. The numbers told their own story. Postol stood 5 feet 11 inches, 180 centimeters, with a 73.5-inch reach, 187 centimeters. Crawford was listed anywhere between 5 feet 9 inches to 5 feet 10 inches, 175 to 178 centimeters, with a reach ranging from 74 to 75 inches, 188 to 191 centimeters, depending on the source. On paper, Postol was the taller man, with the traditional advantage of height and a commanding jab. Crawford was shorter, but quicker, more mobile, and sharper at creating angles. Reach stats sometimes even showed Crawford with a slight edge, a reminder that numbers alone don't dictate fights. What mattered was who would control the center of the ring, and who would be forced to fight out of rhythm. The build-up. At press conferences, the tone was businesslike. Postol repeated his mission: control the distance. Roach emphasized patience and accuracy. Crawford, when asked about the size disadvantage, shrugged. I only need enough to win. The fight was scheduled for HBO pay-per-view. Expectations were moderate by pay-per-view standards. The event would end up drawing around 50,000 buys, solid for a niche fight, but far from blockbuster. Still, its sporting significance was far greater than its commercial numbers. Fight Night, July 23, 2016, MGM Grand, Las Vegas. Gauging timing and testing range. Commentators noted, Postol looks the bigger man, but Crawford is trying to take away his reach with quick steps. By the middle rounds, Crawford shifted gears. He began darting in and out, mixing jabs to the body with quick straight shots upstairs, then cutting sharp hooks as he pivoted out. The turning point came in round 5. Crawford timed Postol with a sharp right hook counter. The Ukrainian wobbled. His knee touched the canvas for a brief moment. Officially scored a knockdown, it changed everything. Suddenly, Crawford had momentum, and Postol, shaken, was forced to adjust. The psychology shifted. Postol, no longer dictating with his jab, was dragged into exchanges where his length was less effective. Crawford, confident now, dictated the pace, punishing mistakes with precision counters. As the fight wore on, Crawford's accuracy told the story. He landed at a higher clip, while Postol's jab found fewer and fewer targets. In the later rounds, frustration crept in. Postol even lost a point for a rabbit punch in the 11th, further sealing his fate. By the championship rounds, Crawford was in control. He boxed smart, avoided reckless exchanges, and never let Postol back into the fight. The judges' scorecards read 118 to 107, 118 to 107, and 117 to 108. A dominant, unanimous decision for Terence Crawford. Not just a win, but a masterclass in how to dismantle a taller, rangier technician. Aftermath. In the post-fight interviews, the respect was palpable. Postol admitted honestly, "I think it was a good fight between two technicians, but he was faster than me." A man's concession. To skill, not to heart. Crawford thanked his team and confirmed, the game plan worked. Even Roach and McIntyre exchanged respectful nods. This was boxing's poetry. Victory without humiliation, defeat without disgrace. For Crawford, the win was another step toward superstardom. He would later climb divisions, collect titles, and establish himself as one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of his era. For Postol, the loss was painful, but not fatal. He remained respected as a craftsman, a former WBC champion, who had tested one of the very best. Commercially, the fight did moderate numbers on HBO PPV, but in boxing history it stands as far more than a business event. It was a tactical showcase, a lesson in range, rhythm, and adaptation. So, who do you think was the toughest opponent of Terence Crawford's career? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive videos. See you next time.